Okay, so here's the digestive system lab anatomy intro. There's a separate video for the physiology one. I recorded in reverse order, but because of the way that they are organized on this page, you're probably watching this one first. So for the anatomy portion, you will have these 6 objectives. So there'll be, some of these are for microscopic anatomy, so layers and cellular structures, as well as the organs, digestive systems, as well as the layers, region, structures. There'll be a few blood vessels that you will need to know. It's not going to be a lot. Let's see. Identify the structures and organs that are located near digestive organs. We'll see some of the models will have like another organ next to them, so you should be able to identify what that is. And then, as always, key terms, prefixes, and suffixes. So if we click on this link, it will take us to our Digestive Anatomy Lab Manual. And if you scroll down, there's an introductory paragraph explaining some of this to you, again, listing the objectives. Here are your prefixes and suffixes. Here are the key terms, just a few of them. And then again, if you happen to be on campus and want to look at a model, this is the full list of the structures that you need to know, as well as where you could locate them on these different models. I'm going to scroll past these to the microscopic portion first. Ooh, there's quite a bit of scrolling. It's going to look a lot longer than it actually is. We have some repetition in several of our models. Okay, so here we are in the anatomy part, well, the microscopic anatomy part. For the histology, there are 4 layers that you're going to see constantly: the tunica mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, serosa. You can hit this over and over and over and over again. So you see this closest to the lumen, and this is the most outermost. Okay, there's some explanation of some of the structures that you will see. And then this is organized similar to the way we had the respiratory microscopic anatomy organized, where here's the tunica mucosa. These are the structures you will find in it. There are these things called rugae, tunica submucosa, muscularis. These 2 things are found in the tunica muscularis, and then the tunica serosa. Okay, and again, we have these things labeled as best as we could for you, including certain key terms here, like a mucosa is a layer, submucosa is a layer. These are all layers. So if you see that question on a lab quiz, that's what we're asking for. We're not asking for a cell or a structure or anything like that. We're asking for a layer. Okay. So here's that same stomach slide, just magnified more. All of these are these gastric glands. And you'll see here, this is all the mucosa layer. Where they kind of dip in, those are the gastric pits. This band right along, kind of running perpendicular to the gastric pits, is the muscularis mucosa. You'll see this quite a bit. And then underneath that is simply submucosa. So underneath mucosa is submucosa. Here's, again, a zoomed in image. All of this now, all the way from here to here, is a mucosa layer. So now you can see the chief cells a lot better. You'll notice they are purple. The parietal cells are pink, and that we usually give you these color hints on our quizzes just to help you with orientation and where the arrow is pointing. Simple columnar epithelium is a tissue type, and a muscularis mucosa would be a structure. Okay, moving on to the duodenum. Again, you'll have the same layers. It's maybe slightly different things in the layers, but the same large category of layers. One of the ways you know you are in the duodenum, say versus the stomach or even in the ileum or jejunum or anything like that, is the occurrence of these duodenal glands. So you'll notice here's mucosa right here, here's submucosa. In this submucosa part, you'll see these light-colored large clusters of glands. Nothing else has those, just the duodenum. So you see those, you're in the duodenum, okay? So again, these are the slight differences between the mucosal glands. They tend to be more, maybe more pink or maybe purpley, and hopefully you can see this. These are lighter in color, and they're clustered slightly differently. Those are going to be the duodenal glands. One of these finger-like projections, that is a villus. Okay, and here we are in the ileum. Again, that it has a slightly different color to it. You see this very large mucosa, much smaller submucosa in this slide. And then you'll notice these really large dark purple clusters here. These are Peyer's patches. These are lymphatic nodules. So these will be there as you're absorbing food in case there is any kind of toxin you might have ingested or bacteria or anything like that. This is part of your immune system, making sure it doesn't go systemic, right? So it gets trapped there, and you have an immune response to keep you safe. So on here, we're still in the ileum. Now what we're looking at, it's a little bit difficult to maybe orient when you're first looking at this, and it doesn't help that some of these villi are kind of chopped up. But in your ileum, you have permanent folds in the ileum. They are similar to the folds you would find in the stomach, except that these will never stretch out. These are permanent folds. So if we're looking at this, maybe we can start here. This is the serosa, and it's running this way, right? This is the, well, very outside. This is the muscularis, again, running this way. So this orientation on this is the layers are really going this way. And then what you're seeing here is this large fold, right? So this whole thing is a fold. And then these things coming off this way are villi coming off of this fold, right? And it's coming this way, this way, this way. So this whole large structure that kind of comes up like this is a plicae circularis. So again, that's a permanent fold in the small intestine. You'll still see these Peyer's patches, although they're smaller here. Again, these are lymphatic nodules, part of your immune system. And hopefully you can identify these layers. Again, you're zoomed in a little bit here to single villus. And then after that, we're getting into one of the salivary glands, the sublingual gland. And you have to identify three different things: the mucus acini, serous acini, and an excretory duct. You'll see them labeled on this, but I'm going to go scroll down to like a larger zoom because it's kind of harder to see otherwise. So now we went from like the very zoomed out, the scanning objective, down to the 40x or 400 times magnification. So we're zoomed in quite a bit at this moment. So anytime you see these kind of clusters of, I don't know, they almost look like bubbles, I guess. So here, these kind of clusters of maybe bubbles. Those are mucus acini. So those are clusters of cells that are producing mucus, as the name implies. The ones where they're kind of clustering, see, you get like, I don't know, they're just kind of like a smush maybe, but they're clusters of the more solid purple, or and they're not super solid, but you know, they're not bubbly clear. Those are serous acini. So these acini, these clusters of cell all around here, right here, maybe even right in here, those are all the ones that are producing the salivary amylase and the other components of the saliva that are not mucus. And then do you see these two circles here and here, how they're much more open? You see a larger lumen. They seem a little bit more circular than just kind of clustery. That's how you know you're in an excretory duct, okay? And this is, your salivary glands are excretory glands, so they're taking the saliva to specific areas of your mouth via ducts, right? And those are those two ducts. Okay, as far as the liver goes, you'll need to know liver lobule. Hepatocytes are the cells, the central vein, and then the sinusoids. Again, this is a bit of a zoomed out image, but all of these cells. So if I ask you, what is the cell? It's a hepatocyte. Can it be anything else? No, it is just a hepatocyte. It's a liver cell. Hepatocyte, though, is the correct answer. You'll notice these large circular structures. There's one here as well. Those are central veins. And if you get like a question like with a circled in area like that, like what is this area called, or what is this structure? That's a liver lobule. Okay, the spaces that you're seeing here in between the cells, so these little spaces right here, those are called sinusoids. Otherwise, again, the cells are hepatocytes. This central circular area is a central vein. And again, this whole kind of cluster or grouping is a liver lobule. All right. And then next slide is of the pancreas. We'll have pancreatic acini, lobules, septa, and then islets. So at this zoomed out image, any of these large white spaces like this, that's a septa. So think of like a septum like in your nose. It's what's separating your two nostrils. It's similar to that. You'll have these sort of connective tissue that's dividing the pancreas into lobes. These lighter colored areas, there's one here, there's a smaller one here, or the two circled. Those are the pancreatic islets. That is the endocrine part of the pancreas. So not the digestive enzymes, but things like insulin and hormones that are being produced are found in these lighter colored areas. And then all these darker colored clusters, which is the vast majority of the pancreas that's actually producing the digestive enzymes, are the pancreatic acini. Okay, so again, pancreatic islet is the hormonal part, lighter colored clusters. These darker clusters are pancreatic acini, and then these kind of clear areas are the septa. And here's just a zoomed in image of the difference between the two. All right, so that's the microscopic part. I'll just click quickly on the other two links for the models. So that first link will take you to this Google Drive. Again, if you click on these images, and my little thing is a little bit off, but let's see if I can get to move. You'll see they're just labeled images. As I kind of click on the arrow, they're just giving you again, just the labels for all the different structures. If I click on the other link, it will take you to this page, and you'll have even more labeled images of the histology portion, the microscopic portion. You may find some of these images very helpful. Like this is a little bit of a nicer plique circularis right here. It's a little bit more zoomed out. Maybe it'll be a little bit more easy to see it. And then we get into the anatomy of like the teeth, the purple plaque. Again, there'll be a lot of overlap. This is just another grouping of labeled images. So on this portion of the practical, it's like, what is this structure? What is this layer? What is this structure? What is this maybe duct? What is this hole? Something like that. Okay? All right. So that is this portion, and then there's a separate video for the physiology portion.